Welcome, everybody. How we doing? This is The Outer Rim. Oh, and see, I can't loop that. Let me pause my intro music one more time. It happens, people. This is why, when you're live, this is the kind of thing that happens. Welcome to The Outer Rim. I am Carbonite. With me, as always, is Ray. Ray, how we doing?
Hey, everybody. How you doing tonight?
Episode number 6. We've made it this far. Lucky number 6.
Halfway to 10.
Okay, we'll work on the math. We're going to work on the math. It's, we're close. We're very close. We're not mathematicians. We're Star Wars fans, people. Just, bear with us for a second. Today, we're going to talk about the 2004 Clone Wars set. And for those of you who remember, in 2003, there was on the Cartoon Network, there was a micro series about the Clone Wars. Each episode was about 3 to 4 minutes. And Topps released a card set the following year, kind of just that encompasses all the different episodes. It is terrific. I don't want to spoil anything. Ray's cats are excited, as you can see by her behind her, but This is going to be a good time. But yeah. But without further ado, let's bring our guest up on stage. You might remember him from a couple episodes ago. Whoops, and I just spotlighted you, but we're going to add you. Brandon, welcome back to The Outer Rim. How are we doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
Yeah, we
great.
Are.
Awesome to have you back again.
Yeah, so pumped. So those you remember, Brandon is the owner, the founder, the lord of the Star Wars Card Hub Discord. Approaching 500 members, Brandon. Is this correct? We're approaching 500.
We are, I believe, 30 away.
And there you go. It's been growing every day. One of my favorite, probably the only Discord that I'm active in every day. to be perfectly frank. In the description of the show, you're going to see an invite for that Discord. Please go join it. If you're into Star Wars, you're into Star Wars cards, you're into cards of any kind, Star Wars, anything, just join. You'll find your people there. We have a great time. But Brandon, we have a big event coming up, right? Within the Discord.
Yeah, since we are approaching 500 members within the Discord, we're gonna go ahead and host our second Gibby Train. It's gonna be hosted on Whatnot. Trying to finalize all the details. So if you want more information, just hit the invite link, and we'll be spreading that, I believe, this next week on what the invite links are and getting individual streams ready. And it'll be about 25 streamers, and they'll be all giving away stuff for everybody.
Yeah. And so for those of you who don't know what a Gibby Train is, right? You start with one streamer. They give away a bunch of stuff for about 5-10 minutes. You move on to the next. That streamer gives away a bunch of stuff for about 5-10 minutes. They move on to the next, and so on and so forth. And you said it's about 25 streamers on Whatnot, about 2.5 hours. Probably go longer because we all like to gab, we all like to talk, right? Mm-hmm. It's gonna go long. It's gonna be a little longer, but 2-3 hours. All you do is you hang out, you enter giveaways. We're not allowed to sell anything. We're not allowed. We're just there to spread some Star Wars card love and promote the hobby and just give things away. So if you like free stuff, this might be the event for you, right? Absolutely.
Definitely. Most definitely.
Absolutely. So awesome, Brandon. Well, I can't wait. It's going to be good. That's going to be August 24th in the year of our Lord, 2024 AD. Did I get that right? I get the year right? Yeah. I don't know what year it is.
I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so, right? I don't freaking know. All right. So let's get going. We know what's coming next. So our first segment of the day is going to be Ready, Set, Go. All right. Looks like Ray's cat wrangling right about now. getting those cats away. I think she completely underestimated how long how long the intro was. This is not a 1 minute intro, Ray. This is a 10-second intro. Ah, here we go. You're back. You are back. All right.
Good.
All right. So ready, set, go. Ray and I each choose a card from the set we're talking about, which is today is the 2004 Clone Wars set. Ray, you're going first today, so I'm going to throw your card up and away you go.
Excellent.
There we go.
Oh, I had such a hard time picking here, but I had to go with this amazing shot of Yoda on what looks like horseback, except it's not actually horseback. This is the first thing I love about this card is the way that Star Wars is so good at making creatures that are almost familiar, but not quite. So I actually looked this up. It's called a Kaibuck, and he's riding a Kaibuck into battle here as opposed to a horse. So that's the first thing I love about this card. But also just Yoda here. And I think what's so neat about the Clone Wars cartoon at this point is you have all these people who are going to debate, do you love puppet Yoda? Do you love CGI Yoda? You know, sort of what's your favorite here? But then all of a sudden we get this cartoon version. And it lets him just be so wild and wizardy and cool in a different way. I think the card sort of speaks for itself from there.
I think if you replace the lightsaber with a staff, it's
Gandalf.
It's Gandalf. It's high. Yeah. It's high fantasy, right? It's the cloak and the elvish ears and from afar it looked like he was doing this for a second. That would have been awesome, but he's not.
He may be doing that too.
That would have been cool.
So
yeah, no. Now, correct me. I'm not a big sequel fan. It's not a secret. Isn't in the sequels they like ride horses on a Star Destroyer in the last battle or something? Wasn't there some form of animal husbandry that existed in the sequels where they were like riding beasts or something? Or am I just completely misremembering that?
Oh,
I think there was. I know what scene you're talking about. I forget what movie.
Yeah,
the exact movie it's from.
I can picture it too. It's the planet with the what's her name? It's like a whole faction of stormtroopers who have defected, right? Don't they ride up on horses?
Yeah, and like the final battle, right? And at Exegol or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what reminds me. But no, I love this card, but not as much as my card, which is coming next. So my card I picked Onward to His Destiny. So we're actually this scene, as you can see, it's Padme staring out the viewport with C-3PO and R2-D2 at her side. And what she is looking at is Anakin's Jedi Starfighter taking off with the fleet to head off to war, right? And this card, more so than others, demonstrates the sheer scope of the Clone Wars, right? How infinite the planets are in the galaxy, and how just huge this war was, right? I mean, this is one fleet taking off from Coruscant. An Incuniopolis, I can't remember to say that word, but a hive city or a hive planet with billions upon billions upon billions of people, and these fleets taking off, heading off into the galaxy to try to unite the galaxy, to try to end this war by just sheer force and sheer numbers, right? It's the Clone Wars. It's one thing I think, and I'm gonna rag on the sequels for a second, but you never get scope. You never understand the scope of anything in those movies. Whereas in the first scene of A New Hope, you understand with the Star Destroyer heads over your head, okay, galaxy spanning empire, we get it, right? Like it makes sense. We know how big the empire is. We understand, and the Clone Wars, believe it or not, you forget that was a much bigger conflict than the Galactic Rebellion, right? I mean, battle for battle, fleet for fleet, the Clone Wars was huge compared to A New Hope. And just this,
I beg to differ as the sequel voice in this room for a moment, because that's one of my favorite parts of the whole thing is when they say we're all here, right? And you see how many ships have come from everywhere. But yes, point taken.
We'll get into why that scene is terrible in another show. But let's focus on this card for a second. And this is the human side of the Clone Wars, right? You have a secret girlfriend, right? Seeing her secret boyfriend be shipped off to war, right? Something that's happened time and time and time again, and it's it gives that human aspect to the war, and that's why I love Onward to His Destiny. With Anakin Skywalker heading out, leaving his secret girlfriend behind, and this war sort of shaped him and the galaxy as a whole for eons. So there you go. All right, Brandon, what do you think? Yoda on a horse or grand scale of Clone Wars? What are you thinking?
Well, I'm biased because I'm a Padme collector and I'm a huge fan of the ships of the Republic. So that's a big push for
You're
me.
not a
to go to this
Kybuck fan?
No, to be honest, I've never heard of that before this show.
No, me neither. So fair enough.
So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Carbonite's card. It embodies the scene of war and what's to come for the Republic. So another W for Carbonite.
Yes, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, much appreciated. I mean, you're correct in everything you just said. You're 100% correct, and I appreciate it. Chalk it up.
Start a Kybuck fan club. Yeah.
What's the score, Ray? What's the score?
They're like 4-2, but who's
I don't think it's that close. Okay, all right. So let's look at. So we're gonna continue on with the set. So what I want to look at right now, I want to look at the Dark Horse comic run. So we saw these cards, right? We saw Yoda on a horse, right? This is what the show looks like. But within the card set, and that existed at the time with some Dark Horse comic books, and the artwork was very different than the show itself. And this card, so I got a whole bunch because I loved every single one of these cards. So here's the first one. It's Anakin Skywalker and what is known at the time as an ARC trooper, right? This is not Captain Rex, people. Captain Rex didn't get his name till I believe until the Clone Wars in 2008 came out, with those full length shows. But this is sort of the genesis, if you will, of Captain Rex, because the ARC troopers were sort of Anakin's personal clone squad, and you're a badass fighter, right? When your armor is tailored to your muscle, right? Like they're etched muscles in your armor. So either pathetically weak and they had to add muscles to your armor, or
armor too, in that sort of plated way, right?
Yeah, and I think his abs. I think he's got a 6-pack carved into that armor right there, which is phenomenal, if you will. But Brandon, first look at these cards. What do you think?
I mean, I'm an Anakin collector too. So Anakin Padme is my PC. I've never seen this card except for just right now. It looks amazing. I want it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, yeah.
Wait till there's a couple more Anakins in here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. So let's go. Yeah. And so you go on the next one.
Carbonite's gonna have me on a buying streak.
Yeah. Oh, here you go. Well, here's another one. Right. Here's another one. ARC Trooper, Obi-Wan, Anakin. All right. And so again, in these comics, these were mid-2000s comics. They came out, I think, in conjunction with the prequels kind of deal, and they tried to sort of fill in the gaps that the movies did. But not a lot of people obviously are buying comic books. A small percentage relative to see the movie, but you see artwork like this, and the grittiness, the darkness, it really brings it out that the cartoon kind of couldn't, right? It's you see all these battle droids blowing up in a cartoony way, clone troopers falling over, but this is really the grit, right? And then you have the villains, right? Like Asajj, right? You have a beautiful card of Asajj. So they did reuse this card in the later Galaxy series. I think this is 2012. They reused this artwork. And behind her, Brandon, do you know who this is? I didn't know who this was before this card set. Do you know this villain?
I do not.
Aptly, his name is Dirge, D-U-R-G, Dirge, right? So a villain in the comic that they had. I believe he's also in the micro series as well. He shows up in the micro series as a foil, right? But this artwork of Dirge and Asajj dual wielding those red lightsabers, how fucking badass is that, right?
Yeah, I hope and really hope for the newer Galaxy sets they reuse some artwork like this, especially with it being full bleed coming back. I hope they do. I have my doubts, but we won't get into that.
Yeah. Well, We'll
Well,
see.
and you said it exactly. I love that they included this set specifically in the Clone Wars because the artwork is so different. And it's almost like, you're watching the same movie, but one's G-rated and one's, rated R, and it gets to sort of get into all that grit and stuff.
Yeah. And, another beautiful one of Obi-Wan and Asajj locked in sabers. And it's funny because it's like it has the flame in the bottom and then it's just black on top. But I like that they left it. They didn't make it too busy. It really just is like, yep, these two. It's probably pitch black night somewhere, and they're just battling it out, duking it out. It's amazing. And then check this one out. Obi-Wan in the lead of a legion of clone troopers in the back, not a squad, not a platoon, but a legion of clone troopers behind him. And you got I'm pointing to the screen, no one can see the ships in the back, and it's like this is what it's about. It's a Jedi leading the clone troopers into battle, and it's dark and there's explosions and you don't know what's going to happen, right? This is the Clone Wars to me. This is the Clone Wars. This is it. Like these giant battles. This is the World War II of the Star Wars universe, right? I mean, this is what it is. And so Brandon, I apologize for showing you this card because you're just gonna leave the show and Google and see if this exists. But here's the next one. So this is the Anakin card. Anakin beheading a battle droid. Like, just gorgeous.
I'm on
gorgeous
eBay right
artwork.
now.
Yeah, I know, right? It's
You're already looking for it?
Yeah, he's like that. This card, I actually sent one of these into PSA, came back in 8. Boo. Already sold it. Sorry, buddy. But I think I might have I might have another one for you. I'll send it to you. But this card is, again, it's the prowess. It's the martial prowess of the Jedi in battle, right? And the ineptness of the battle droids missing him at point blank range, right?
Yeah, no
He's like, whoops, and there you go. And there's like lightning in the background because why not? Why not just have lightning in the background?
Why not?
Yeah.
And I just love this overlap between the card sets and the comics because the two don't necessarily overlap, but whenever the sets included it, and they used to, I think, more often in the very early Galaxies, they would always have this section that was Art of Star Wars that had already appeared elsewhere. And you don't get a lot of it anymore, except maybe sort of the recent flagship with those comic book covers. But you don't get a lot of it anymore. And I think it's awesome when they include them.
Yeah, because like in a comic, though, comic artists in general, I'm always envious of them. One, I'm a terrible drawer and I'll never be a good artist so long as I live. But two is they can pack so much content in one frame. Right, that's what their job is. They need to convey everything in 1, 2, 3 frames or on a single page or whatever it is. They don't have 6 minutes of footage that they can talk about things. They have to show, so they have to pay attention to every detail, whether it be the expression on their face, the way they're posing, the way the characters are facing, and all that. It's just everything is deliberate, especially in a comic book, which I adore. But yeah, and even the villains, like the sort of these villains that don't get I feel like Count Dooku, he's respected as a Star Wars villain. His it's a shame what happened to him, at the end. And it's kind of, well, it's not sad. He was kind of a dickhead, but it's kind of like this whole, he met his demise, and that everyone had like 1%. I'm like, oh, I kind of feel bad for this guy. Like Palpatine just used him like bigly, and but this card showing the power of Dooku. Dooku was one of the main villains in all of the Clone Wars, and this sort of this grayscale, beautiful rendering of him with the blue force lightning. He's got he's gorgeous. I love it. Right. And then you have some lesser known heroes. We got a couple more cards left here. Who's this guy? Ray, go. Who's this guy? You know this guy.
Do I?
Yeah, you gotta like
Hint.
Leia's adopted father.
Oh, Bail Organa.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
This is Bail Organa, right? With some Alderaanian soldiers fighting. during the Clone Wars, right? And again, he was in the comic, right? He probably had a little bit part in the comic, whatever it was, but sort of showing the all these pieces of the Clone Wars you weren't able to see in the show, I think was terrific, right? Because do you think that's the official uniform of Alderaan? Is that what you think that is?
Probably.
Probably. I mean, very Spartan-esque, right? In those helmets, it looks like very Spartan-esque. But yeah, so Brandon, I saved this last card for you. I skipped over it in the list, but I want to do it last for you because of all the cards, we saw Anakin beheading a battle droid, but do we see Anakin about to behead a Tusken?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
And the stealth attack from behind too, right? Yeah.
Well, I think he kicked him. Yeah, I think he just knocked him down.
Yeah.
Right.
You can see the Tusken reaching for dear life.
Yeah. And look at Anakin's face. It's enraged and pale and just. But his saber, what color is his lightsaber in this?
Blue.
It's still blue, right? Even though he deleted a bunch of Tuskens out in the desert that one fateful night.
Yep.
That lightsaber, still blue, but just the sheer rage and that poor Tusken. And again, everything's deliberate, right? You see these frames, everything is deliberate. The artist chose to put the Tusken facing away, reaching for that weapon, helpless, knowing what's about to happen, and Anakin behind him just two-handed, about to just, carve him up like a Thanksgiving turkey. I love it. And Brandon, if I have this card, I'll send it your way, my friend, because I know you probably want a copy of this one too. Yeah. No, this whole run, the Dark Horse comic run in the Clone Wars set is just magical and beautiful and everything. And what do you got there? What is that?
What are we looking at?
See it.
Oh, I love it.
Oh yeah, the hooded. Oh my god,
gorgeous.
That is beautiful. What's that set from?
It's a commission, but it's on a Revenge of the Sith wide vision card by Ryan Finley.
Yes. Oh, the hooded Anakin, right? That.
I think that's my favorite Anakin. Is like right where he's between the two, right? As this lightsaber is changing color, literally, right?
Yeah. Oh my god, just gorgeous. Oh, that was beautiful. Yeah, the hood, his eyes, right, are starting to change everything, and it's gorgeous. Oh, it's awesome. All right, well that's enough of that right there. So, Dark Horse Comics. Anakin, so speaking of Anakin Skywalker, it leads into our next segment. But without further ado, let's get into our this episode's Cantina conversation. Sorry, I was dancing a little bit. All right, so let's raise a glass, whatever you have. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
And this week's Cantina conversation is pre-prequel theories, Anakin Skywalker. So what we're going to talk about in today's Cantina conversation is basically, what did people think about Anakin Skywalker, who he was, what he did, how he got to be who he was, whatever, before the prequels came out, before they gave us episodes 1, 2, 3. What were people saying about Anakin Skywalker? And there's one that is one of my all-time favorites we'll get to, but Ray, our resident researcher, Star Wars nerd, you have a list for us, perhaps?
I do, and I don't know which one is your favorite, so I don't know if I'm saying
the one, the short one. The short one.
Does it have to do with a droid?
Yes.
That's my favorite too. So I'm going to save that one.
Yes.
The first one being that Darth Vader was just bluffing. That this is just an asshole Sith who's making it up, right? To sort of play with Luke's heartstrings, make the whole thing up. And part of that, I think, is that they talked about how for kids, this whole I am your father reveal was so drastic that I think people didn't want to believe it. So they were like, oh no, he's just totally making it up. this is a Sith lying because that's what Sith do.
Yeah, and that's true, right? Because when they screen tested, when they were writing Jedi, one of Lucas's confidants said, you have to write a scene where Yoda or Obi-Wan confirms that Darth Vader is Luke's father, because kids didn't believe the line from in Empire. They like left being like, oh, he's just a bad guy. He's just a what do you call him, a Sith asshole? Just like yeah, you jerk,
Well,
lying to this guy, not Luke, right?
I'm curious for you, Brandon. So you watched them 3, 4, 5 first, right? Before the prequels? I'm assuming.
Since I'm younger, I watched the prequels first, and then
here we
go.
But
when I was,
that throws a little curveball. So you never had that moment
when I was little. I mean, I can't remember fully because I just don't remember. But in reality, I watched the 3, 4, 5 first. But as I started getting back into it when I was older, I watched the prequels and did in timeline order.
Okay.
So.
Because I think part of having these theories is the not knowing, right?
Yeah,
is that
true.
You to them sort of as a blank slate, and then you get to just fill it in as you will. But
yeah, it's interesting. Like I don't remember not having seen all 3 of the original. Does that make sense? Like I just remember I knew everything. I knew Vader was Luke's father. I knew that he redeemed in the end, because in my brain I don't remember a time when I'd only seen New Hope,
just
only seen Empire, right? Like I had just seen them all as a clump. I was born in the 80s, and I had the VHS tapes. That was when I was in middle school, those were my sick day movies. I would just pop them in and just watch all 3. I was homesick from school, and so like to me that the whole Anakin piece, I didn't not believe him, but I because you saw Anakin Skywalker at the end of Return of the Jedi, right? But at the same time, there was still this discussion of like, well, how did he become Vader? Mm-hmm. What happened to Anakin Skywalker, right? And that's the bigger picture, right? Is like what happened to Anakin to make him into Darth Vader.
Well, and I actually remember. So it was my son who was reading a Star Wars encyclopedia and said to me, oh, did you know that Vader's whole costume and mask and all this is to keep him alive because of this terrible accident? And my first thought was, well, no, they're just making that up. It's just so he can be intimidating or whatever. And then you realize, oh, there actually is a reason that he's wearing this very strange costume and suit and the whole thing.
Yeah. So Ray, what else you got? What else you have for?
So going into obviously another one of the ones just sort of circulating out there, the times that he was not the chosen one, that this was all sort of wrong, and he was not the one who was intended to be the balance to the Force. I don't know how much that's, and then I can get to, unless you guys want to talk about that, I can get into our favorite one.
Well, no, I want to talk about this one about not being the chosen one. I do remember in my head when the Emperor first appeared, being like, holy shit, there's someone stronger than Darth Vader? Like, he's not in control of the Empire, right? I know they obviously subtext, and if you're an adult, you understand that right away in the Hope and everything. But like to me, as a kid, Darth Vader was the big baddie, so he's obviously in charge. And so when the Emperor appeared, was stronger than Vader. That like messed me up.
It's almost disappointing.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember thinking like, well, then who was Anakin? If Anakin wasn't this great hero, leader, whatever, like because obviously he wasn't the biggest, bestest pilot warrior in the galaxy, because he got reined in, or he was proverbially shackled by the Emperor, as his apprentice, and then Sith, becomes a Sith Lord. That kind of messed with me. So like this whole like pre-prequel Anakin thing, I was very interested going into the prequels, being like, well, how did the Emperor do this? Like, who is the Emperor, right? It gave me more questions about the Emperor being like, how the hell
Who
is
could
this?
possibly be more evil and more powerful than this?
Yeah, exactly. So I was just that's what threw me. And so, and one thing about Anakin, when you find out he's Darth Vader, the whole lava bit. So I don't know if you guys know this, the whole like him falling into a volcano.
I didn't
Was
fall into
actually,
a volcano. It was a river.
what's that?
It's a
No,
river.
but like the original was like he fell in a volcano, whatever. Lava was involved, obviously. George Lucas gave an interview in the 80s and stated as such, because they asked him about the suit and everything, and said, oh yeah, he needs that suit because he was horribly like, I think he might have said fell in a volcano or like
Right.
was almost killed by lava or whatever, and that's why he needs the suit. And it got lost because, again, it was the 80s and you didn't have a DVR, you didn't have streaming services, anything. Like, it was a one-off interview on some like a morning show. I don't know what it was, but it was just like, he just said it, and then you had to remember it and then pass it on. You couldn't just like, unless you recorded it, right? So that whole volcano lava piece was there. I remember in the beginning. That was definitely there. But Ray, what's the last one? Which is my favorite one. This
is my favorite, and I have to say I believe it. I think because I want to believe it. So going back to this idea that George Lucas knew early on Anakin's body was so destroyed in some way, whether that was lava or something else, that in order to survive, he had to be transferred into a mech, right? And so R2-D2 is actually Anakin. And it sounds wild when you first hear it, and then you start finding evidence, and you're going to believe it too. And my favorite is when you watch the opening of New Hope, which actually we got to do recently live on the Jumbotron at Fenway Park. And you see the way that the other Luke and Uncle Owen are about to choose the other R2 unit. And then, all of a sudden it sort of misfires and goes wrong, and R2-D2 gets chosen instead. Oh, look, it's a force-wielding astromech. And there's all kinds of other little moments where if you watch carefully with that in mind, you too will start to believe that R2-D2 is Anakin saved in a mech form. Kind of think General Grievous before General Grievous was turned into a cyborg.
Yeah. Well, I think of it more like, in my head, my initial thought is they're literally stuffing a giant body into R2, like, and they got like a stick, and they're like, get in there, right? And
It's a little more finesse than that, but
I guess so. I think it'd be more fun if they were just jammed him in. But then you learn, we got his arms and his legs cut off by Obi-Wan, and then maybe they lowered him in, and there and I love this theory. And if it was true, it would. I mean, obviously, it was never gonna be. But like that whole imagine you're watching. It's 1987, and you just got the VHS tapes for the first time at home, and you're watching them with your friends, and you're like, wait a second, what if this Anakin fellow was actually R2-D2, right? And then had an affinity with Luke. Right place, right time.
He's a good pilot, which none of the other astromechs are, right? Like,
yep.
He can actually pilot. Brandon,
literally,
I'm curious what you think about this theory, and if you've heard it.
I've never heard this theory.
Really? You've never heard it?
No. I mean, I guess thinking about it, I can see how the theory would come about, especially when you're back then. From my perspective, since I'm younger, I've always had the prequels and always had the explanation of who Anakin was. So I could see how back then, with the movies just coming out, everyone was like, "Oh, what are this?" Where the theories can come from. So back then, I say it's valid, but once you watch the movie, obviously it's, I don't know, disproved, but I guess really disproved in my opinion.
It's like that whole thing of like, you can't. There's no part of your brain that could comprehend Anakin being R2 because you saw you were prequel generation, right? And so totally understandable. But you talked to me in 7th grade and you told me that, I would be like, wait a second, it's 1995, and I'm like, you know what? again, right place, right time. He saves the day, right? He's in the trash compactor on Endor,
over and over.
right? And like
Honestly,
all these
like
things,
we could have a whole cantina conversation about how R2 is actually sort of the hero of this entire.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but
oh,
we'll
absolutely.
Yeah. But I think the sort of the other piece to this and why it's a perfect topic for today is because the Clone Wars supplied so much Anakin backstory. So Brandon, probably you were able to get that all in one go. Whereas I remember thinking when I first watched the Clone Wars, oh my gosh, like there's something for Anakin that existed between when you see him as a little kid and when all of a sudden he goes over to Palpatine, right? The prequel movies give you a little bit of that, but not a lot. And then all of a sudden there's episode after episode after episode of who he was.
Yeah, no, it's I think, do you think Lucas always meant to fill in the gaps? I mean, he had to, right? You had 3 movies. They could only be 2.5, 3 hours each. And personally, I would have liked it if they started episode 1 when Anakin was like 15, right? I'd rather have started later, and then that whole argument of like training someone, or even, whatever, 12 or older than he was, right? They could have got a young Hayden Christensen to play Anakin. But I just, it's having these shows fill in the gaps just makes everything richer and denser and more enjoyable, I think in the end. And, and it makes these pre-prequel theories look absolutely batshit insane, basically. Because
hard to.
I mean, remember the one we talked about last year, Boba Fett being Luke's mom, and like all these like crazy out there theories are just insane. So, well, great. Well, that'll bring us to the end of our Cantina conversation. I'll raise a glass. Thank you two, for another riveting conversation. Episode 1, 2003 micro series, which brings us to our last segment. This is a new game show that I have developed on my own. This is my creation here, and I'm very proud of it. And this game show is called Star Wars Planet or Skincare Company. All right. So basically, what I'm going to do is I have a little slideshow prepared. I'm going to give a name, and my 2 contestants, Ray and Brandon here, have to tell me whether it is the name of a Star Wars planet or the name of a skincare company. All right, you guys ready? You guys know the rules?
I have a feeling I'm taking an L.
All right.
Yeah.
First one, Chanticleer. Okay. All right. Here we go.
Sorry, Brandon. I might have an edge here.
This isn't a buzz in. This isn't a buzz in, Ray. This is a contemplate and think, and you give me your answer. Okay. All right. So Ray, why don't you just kind of hold back a little bit for a second?
Bring my cats in to be.
Why don't you go wrangle some cats?
I might have a few of these in my medicine cabinet. I mean, come on, guys.
Well, there you go. All right. Next one, Florum. What do we think, Brandon? What do you think?
I think that's a planet.
That's a planet.
Planet. Star Wars planet Florum. That is correct. A Star Wars planet. That's what it looks like. I was hoping you'd trip you up, guys, with the whole floor, like a floor.
Yeah.
Like a floral. Like, I don't know.
What's the climate on Florum? That's what I really want to know.
What's the what climate?
Climate, yeah.
Single climate. Remember, all planets have one climate.
All planets, one climate.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Umbara.
Planet.
Yeah?
I just remember this from a specific Clone Wars episode.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's right. And I tried to get planets from the Clone Wars.
Umbara
is a Clone Wars planet.
Shadow. Umbrella. It's a shadow.
Well, there you go. Yeah. All right, next one. Misha.
Bone planet.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go planet too.
All right.
It doesn't sound like skincare.
It's a skincare product.
What?
I'm ashamed.
See, there you go.
Wow.
See, these are good. I'm so glad these are not so easy, right? I'm so glad.
I would have never guessed that. I would have never guessed skincare.
Planet Misha. Okay.
Planet Misha. Nope, it is a skincare product. All right, next one. Tatcha. 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 I don't know how to say it.
I'm gonna reverse. I'm gonna go skincare.
Right?
I'm ashamed again. I'm gonna go skincare too.
Skincare? All right, let's see. That is correct. That is correct. Skincare
What do
product.
they make?
I'll tell you what, though. It sounds like a planet in Star Wars, does it
It
not?
does. I thought it was a planet at first.
All right. Next one. Sulwaso.
Oh god. I'm gonna say skincare again.
Skincare.
Product.
I've never heard of that planet on Star Wars.
Sulwaso. Now, mind you, just so you know, I literally went to the list of all Star Wars planets.
You went deep.
Yeah.
I went deep. So this isn't like, oh yeah, like Tatooine. No.
Yeah.
All right. Would you guys both say skincare?
I'm saying skincare.
Correct. It is a South Korean skincare company. It is not a Star Wars planet.
It's not a single climate planet.
But Sulwaso, again, sounds like a Star Wars planet, does it not? All right. Last one. Hypori.
Planet.
I'm going planet.
Let's see. It is a Star Wars planet. And I believe this is the planet where General Grievous makes his debut.
That's
planet.
I didn't know that. I did not know
that. Where he, when you say makes his debut, had his accident?
No, revealed himself as a general in the Trade Federation or the Confederation of Independent Systems. There you go. Well, thank you guys for playing. I'm glad, Ray, you only knew the first one. That's very good. I'm glad you only knew the first one.
You made it harder than I thought. I'm going to come up with the male equivalent of this.
Okay.
To trip you both up next time.
All right. Oh, I love it. I love it. So there you go. Star Wars planet or skincare product. But that brings us to the very end of our show. Brandon, thank you so much again for being a guest here on the Outer Rim. Saved the day. We had a last minute cancellation. Brandon stepped up, and he will be rewarded handsomely.
He is officially our guest with the most appearances. So
yes, you are in the lead. You are we'll get, if you ever get your 5-timers jacket if you ever make it to the 5th one. All that stuff.
I might not make it that far.
Yeah, no. You will, because you're gonna get the same. You're gonna get the same text from me a week from now. It's gonna be 8 o'clock at night. We had another cancellation. Get on this show, man. Come on. No.
And just to answer the chat real quick, we are going to be having some specials coming up about new sets, new shows, all kinds of stuff. So stay tuned. We've got a lot of very exciting stuff planned.
Yeah, we have an Acolyte review special coming up. In the next week or two.
2024 special, I believe.
Yep, and Chrome. And so if you don't know, Topps is releasing Chrome 24 next week. And
let's go.
Nice little. What's that?
New products. Finally.
I know, right? Oh, I know. It's gonna be, and the set looks awesome. We got a box. We're gonna rip a box live. We're gonna do a little unpacking special for Chrome 24. This little half-hour special on the set.
Let's just all pray that it's not like 23 Chrome.
No, it can't be. It can't be. There's no way it's gonna be that bad. There's no way it's gonna be that bad.
I hope not. Please, Tom, please.
I know. Oh my God. And then we all sit and wait. I F5 every day to get some news about 24 Galaxy, because I'm gonna be all over that when it comes out. Full bleed. Can't wait. Let's go full bleed. Let's go. All right. Well, that does it, everyone. Once again, thank you, Brandon, our guest, Brandon.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Yep.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks. You're very welcome. And may the force be with you guys. All right. And we'll see you next time. Whoops. You got to left click it, not right click it.